Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome to the show. We are back with Mary Gugasberg again, MKG Parent Coach. Thank you so much for being here. If we want to reach out to you, would you mind sharing how to do so?
I'd love to connect with parents and do those celebrations and talk through those challenges of just raising kids in today's world. You will find me on Instagram, MKG Parent Coach. You'll find me on Facebook, exact same. My website is mkgparentcoach.com. And what I love about my website is I have a resource I'm going to call out in our talk today. You'll find it on my website. And you can just schedule a call with me. You can click on my schedule link in there and love to meet with parents and grandparents, whomever is really walking in this caring time of how do we show up to really help our kids feel that they are seen and matter.
Which is not always an easy thing. And clearly, as a parent coach, you're working with the families, the children, and all of us involved with screen time. So where did you want to start?
Yeah. So I love just unpacking because that's one thing that really brings parents into parent coaching is the screen seems to have taken over our family. We used to have family time and now I can't break away from my screens, and I certainly can't get my kiddo to break away from screens. So I like to start with what are some what are some benefits, maybe is a better word to use. What are some benefits that you in your family, what do you see as a benefit of screens?
Well, information at our fingertips.
Exactly.
I mean, knowledge, but I just feel like it's just overboard with everyone, adults, children, all the above. So you're right. There are benefits. So let's point out the good. And it is, I remember having encyclopedias in my house, those old things, they would come around and sell them door to door and you have to look up a definition. So, I mean, the ease of that, I should say, right? So quicker knowledge, what would you say?
I echo what you're saying. It's also connections. I live in a different state than my parents and my siblings and other caring friends. Well, that's also helps be that caring village. You hear me talk about frequently, like who are those caring, research shows all our kiddos need 5 caring adults to become caring adults when they grow. So those caring adults, so aunts, uncles, cousins, who are those caring adults active in your kiddo's life? So that's a big benefit. Another benefit is kiddos can find their group. They might not have their people in their school or in their setting, but they can find their people, their group online. They can find, my goodness, you can find so many different activities and skills that you can learn when you have this online audience. So now we can talk about some of the concerns. Okay, you talked about screens are everywhere. What do you think, Jill, is another concern that you think parents are worried about?
Eyes. Oh, well, we're seeing bad things on the internet too. Violence, sex, drugs, things like that we shouldn't be.
Yeah. So I echo exactly, and then we can even pull that back one more layer. And our kiddos, because of being so immersed in screens, they're losing some of those social skills. Eye contact, how to unpack a disagreement. Yeah, if you and I have a disagreement, well, I'll just unfriend you and we won't be in contact. Versus we need to learn healthy conflict resolution. We need to be okay to sit in those uncomfortable feelings. That's part of growing and being a young person. All of us, right? It's so easiest for turn them off. And it's so easy to check out. Well, I was bored, but all of a sudden I'm scrolling or I'm watching. But our brains need boredom. Our brains literally need to be bored. That's when we get those creative juices just flow.
I don't remember what it was like to be bored. You got me thinking about,
Yeah.
And my kids are 6 and 8 and same with them. If they're bored, they run to the iPad, they want to watch TV. They're so accustomed and used to it. So as parents, we are so guilty of letting this enabling. I went to the eye doctor with my little guy who's 6 a few weeks ago, and the ophthalmologist said screen time should be limited to 20 minutes a day on a tablet for a child. I'm like, what, 20 minutes? And it was summer. I'm like, my kid's been on it for like 5 hours. He's like, oh gosh, their eyes and all these physical concerns, let alone mental concerns. There's a lot. I mean, do the
Yeah.
benefits outweigh the negative, or the negative outweighs the good? What do you think?
Right. Well, I think it's helpful to just unpack where are our kids hanging out,
Yeah.
right? And that'll help. And then it comes down to a message that we're talking about today applies to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for your question. But okay, so where are our kiddos hanging out? In 2022, this is from Pew Research, there was a 17% increase in everything in where our kiddos were hanging out. So YouTube, 95% of teens, that is their top go-to, YouTube. And that surprises a lot of parents when I say that, because they're like, wait, why am I seeing all this TikTok news and this Snapchat? Well, those are your next two. TikTok follows right behind, and 67% of kiddos, teenagers, say they use TikTok, with a quarter of them saying they use it almost constantly.
Wow.
Yeah. Then we have TikTok, Snapchat, and Insta. So 6 out of 10 kiddos are using TikTok and Instagram.
Wow.
So why do we even talk about that? Well, one, I think, like I said, this is a message for everyone. In America, so we'll just talk US, the average American, are you ready, spends 7 hours on screens each day. Now, Jill, that's not you and I doing our jobs. That's that extra time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So what's missing, right? What are our kiddos missing along with those social skills? They're missing nature. They're missing being outdoors. All of us, right? Our eyes. You definitely named that. The vision. And I appreciate when you just said your eye doctor said,
optometrist, ophthalmologist. Yeah.
Yeah, said 20 minutes of screen time a day. From the American Pediatric Academy, they recommend, so kiddos under 18 months, zero screen time, unless, and during the pandemic, this was a gift, right? Is now my 18-month-old grandma can see her grandbaby because we can do this. We can be on a FaceTime. We can be on a digital platform. Let's move to those 18-month-old to 2 years old. Again, zero social media. 2 to 5, they say 1 hour of quality programming. That's a day. So whatever a parent defines. Gen Z kiddos average 9 hours of screen time a day. And sometimes it's helpful to remember Gen Z is those kiddos that were born between 1985, 86, all the way to 2010, 2012, depends on how you break it. So again, this is a message for everybody. So brain development, what is happening in our brains? What age do you think a kiddo's brain is fully developed?
I think they say 7. Is that true? I mean, I don't think so.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Or you stop learning at 7, or you stop something happens at 7. I mean,
actually, they really ignite their brain at 7.
Something happens at 7. You're done. I forgot what it is.
Yeah, well, there's a lot that happens in that there's a lot of language that is learning in those younger years, but the average age that a young person's brain is fully developed is 25. So that even shocks some parents, because you're like, wait, at 18, my kid can vote. At 21, they can legally buy substances, because we just talked about that too, right? But their brains aren't fully developed till 25. So at 16, they can drive a car, right? I mean, all these things that we think our kiddos are ready for, but their brains aren't fully developed. And then that comes to me in that, what are our kiddos seeing online? How are we teaching that self-regulation and use of technology? What I'd love to talk about when we jump into our call next time is the importance of sleep and what is happening around the need for sleep and how those screens are interrupting our sleep. So we'll touch on sleep next time. What I have a gift for everyone is, if you go to my website, it's having conversations about really non-judgmental, showing up and just listening to our kiddos. It's that listening to understand, not to respond, and really unpacking So what I have for a freebie for everybody is go to my website. You can download screen conversation starters. You know, who do you follow? How do you feel after you've posted something? Do you ever regret what you posted? Tell me about the relationships you have here. And how are you supplementing your online relationships and your real world relationships? Are you using that technology to say, hey, I'm going to the game on Friday night. Do you want to go with me? Or are you using technology to go, what's everyone else doing? And shucks, I'm not part of it. So are you using it to curb loneliness, or is it feeding your loneliness? Yeah,
Probably
that's a hard one.
feeding. I don't know. Yeah.
Mhm. And that's why I say, Jill, this is a message for everyone. This is not just our kiddos. For parents, how are we modeling? When do we have tech-free time? And how can we set that into that? So that's why I have, again, conversation starters to empower families to really have those conversations around, where are the screens in our home? What do we need to do to have tech-free time? That's another reason a parent coach is so helpful, because just even me leaving you like without words, you're like, oh my goodness.
I have a TV in not every room, but mostly, yeah, like even the kids' bedrooms, but we sleep in mine. And I know it's not good to watch TV at night, but sometimes we do, and it keeps them up later. But it's my habit that I pass on to my kids too.
Yeah.
Like last night they had a treat because they got in bed at 8 instead of 8:30. So I said, "You want to lay for a half hour?" So I think a reward like that's okay. And they went right to bed. It was good. But sometimes the TV's on, they want to stay up longer and longer, and it becomes the defiancy issue. So got to be careful with that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if I can also call out, for starters, Jill, you do you. You're a mom, and there is so much that we all are learning in this together. Second, I would say just a gentle reminder that research shows all of our brains, not just our kiddos, need 1 hour of screen-free before bed, because that helps turn the brain turn off. It gets us ready for sleep, for that deep sleep. When we have devices that, like, our kiddos are waking up in the night and checking because whatever is happening, that's one thing I highly recommend for parents is no screens in the bedrooms, if at all possible. And you just model that and you set that. It's a huge learning, because what do we use as our alarm clocks, right? And it's figuring out how to,
Do
whether
people have alarm clocks anymore, right? Because there are phones, and then you pick it
right,
up, and then it's like, oh, let me look at the email, let me look at the news, let me check my text.
right. Before we even rise, our brains are going, ooh, versus let me do some meditation. Let me step into this day in a gentle way versus, holy moly, look what's happening in the world, and we're flooded with those emotions, and we don't even give ourselves a chance to breathe because there's so much, like we said, that is a benefit of the phone too, or the devices, is technology. And if we use our phones as an alarm clock, which is great, I don't have a problem with it, right? That's what works for you. But maybe we're turning it to airplane mode while we're sleeping, or we're setting our notifications to silence because we're sleeping. We're using the phone as, hey, I'm going to focus time. And we're really drilling into, it's my kiddo's homework time. Okay, kiddo, let's set this for an hour of focus time. And then you and I are going to go for ice cream. We're going to go for a walk. We're going to go make dinner together. Whatever it is that helps use that focus time. Another thing that I've learned that is a helpful way when it comes to creating that media plan around how we and just practice that digital well-being is, we might even uninstall, delete an app, and then put it back on during a set time. Like, what if I take Instagram off my phone and I have 1 hour a week that I'm going to dedicate to Instagram?
Yeah. I think they have, isn't there apps on the phone that control apps? That sounds
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly.
But there
You
are,
are
right?
correct.
The apps control
Yeah.
apps. Oh, it makes it so much more confusing. My
Yep.
goodness.
Yep. But again, it's using it to your benefit,
Mhm.
not as a, so we're using, because we're never going to get rid of our devices, never. And it's growing up in teaching our kiddos the importance of a face-to-face physical touch. I need to hug my children versus them. Oh, well, here's where I get my affirmations from the hearts, the likes, the thumbs up through digital, which is so fleeting. And we need them to really be getting their care from the people that are back to those 5 caring, invested people in their lives.
Wow, wow. So hold on. You say YouTube because they said 95% of teens are using TikTok. 67% of teens are using.
You got it.
16% say they use it constantly.
Yep.
Gosh, what about one that all my niece, my nephew, and my kids use is Snapchat.
Yep.
Is that?
That's number 3.
Oh, there
Yep.
it is. Okay, I see it in writing now. Oh my gosh. Okay, both use
So
6 and
very. So Jill, I'm when I get to do local education things, Snapchat is also a way that our kiddos are using to access substances. So I have education, so they can access to get stuff dropped in their mailbox, or now I have access to things, and
You're
they.
kidding.
I know it's heartbreaking,
Well, because
but
people are
another
messaging
reason.
and then it disappears, or like,
Yeah,
what do
and
you mean?
another reason that there is so, or they're using the emojis to be like, hey, you can pick it up here. And yeah, it's just another reason for us having parents, caregivers, to have healthy boundaries around media and how are we modeling. And again, I just call out, if parents are wondering, or they're like, oh my gosh, you're kidding me, I need to add one more thing. That's the importance of having a parent coach. We really come alongside, and because there is no instruction plan, there's no guidance that's like, oh, do this, do this, do this. That's why I started coaching, is how do we be that support and build out strategies individually in everyone's home?
Mm,
Because it's big, it's heavy, it's hard.
yeah. Limiting screen time, but what are some of the things we could start doing? I guess limiting would be good. What do you suggest? How do you,
Yeah,
especially the
it's
teenagers, because the teenagers they'll be all over it all day. But
right.
my,
And it's so, one thing I encourage is having those compassionate conversations.
okay.
And compassionate conversations is, kiddo, what do you love about this? Using those screen conversation starters that I talked about that you can find on MKG Parent Coach.
Okay.
And then before we even go into that conversation, is me, mom, I'm asking myself, what behaviors do I want to see?
Yep.
Rather than what do I want to have stopped?
Mm-hmm.
So let's celebrate the positive instead of the negative. So
Okay.
there's one. When we're having those conversations, what am I listening for? Am I listening to catch my kiddo doing wrong? Well, then we're not going to have a conversation, right? The door's going to get slammed and the
Yeah.
kiddo is going to say, you never listen. You don't talk to me. You. So again, we want to listen with love. We want to listen for catching them doing right, not wrong. Catching them going, hey, this happened in science class today, and walking through those challenges with them. And no parent likes to hear this. Well, I shouldn't say that. Many parents don't like to hear this, is that importance of modeling. Is our kiddos grow up so fast that when my kiddo comes home from school, I want to be tech free. I want to say, tell me about lunch today. What did you have? Who did you eat with? Versus, how'd that math test go? What time is your sports practice? When do we need to get here? Oh, is that on the family calendar? No, we want to just show up and love our kids. I attest, 18 came like that. 0 to 18, I was like, oh, the baby stage, I couldn't wait for my kids to sleep at night. When all of a sudden now they're 21 and 23, like, I want to redo of the ages your kiddos are, because wow, I learned so much and I just want to be there with them.
Oh, I gotta enjoy every moment. And we do. We sometimes take that for granted. Guilty. Yeah, we do.
It's hard, and there's so many things, and there's so many lenses that are coming at us that we really want to just pause and step into it and go, today is a day, and we're gonna celebrate Yep, it's bumpy, but you know what?
Mhm.
We're going to celebrate that we have a family, that we have love, that we do have access to devices. I mean, they are a good thing. We just have to model how we want them to show up.
True. And we are the
And we have
biggest
those conversations.
examples. It's
I
just,
yeah.
okay.
Well, I was just going to say the one last thing is I'd say when you're creating that plan for your family is involve your kiddos. When do they want to go tech free? When, let's set, what can we do as a family? Do we want to volunteer? Do we want to spend time in nature? Do we want to cook, learn a new skill? What is the time that we can do tech free dinners, whatever? And they're involved. Their voice matters in planning these tech free
My
times.
sister is a teenager. She said something about there's some I don't know if it's an app or a website that I guess it's got to be an app that monitors the children on the I got to find out the name of it on their phones and stuff because it's now rewarding them with discounts to like their favorite clothing stores and stuff if they're
Yeah.
on the less screen time or something like that. So there's got to be more of a way to entice to sell to
Sure.
like advocate for it because if everyone else is doing it well they're going to do it but hey, I'm going to get this off of my favorite like and they go to this website called Shine and they love all these clothes so I'm like hey you get a discount on it or something my niece said the other day I said but I don't know how it tracks your phone and I got to find out the name of it but
Yeah.
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. And again, it's modeling. It's how we're.
Mhm.
So Jill, we were going to ask, how did the first day of school go? We were
Oh
together
my
last
goodness,
week.
it went great.
How did
Oh, I mean, not the night before. My son was up
okay.
until we lay down at like 8:30, crying and panicking, the 6-year-old till 11 o'clock. It was very stressful. It was the anxiety. Came home from school, he had a great day. He had a little bit of it the next night, but it's so much better that they're more regimented. And last week, no iPad Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I got to eliminate that because they've been too much for the summer. So now they're not used to it as much. So I'm
Sure.
slowly falling back and taking it away from them. So yeah, when they get home later, their iPads are away. They're not there anymore all day. So it's I'm trying my best, but I'm excited.
Awesome.
They.
Beautiful. Well, I'm glad that you had a good start to the school year. And now I'm glad that we get to talk and I get to support as you roll through the next few days.
Thank you. Let me ask you a quick question. How do you recommend getting my son, the older one, to do homework? What
Yeah.
type of system? Because it becomes very angry conversation every day.
Yeah. How old is your kiddo?
8, so he's in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
Very defiant, starts crying and yelling when I make him do it. But
Yeah.
and I'm also fearing it, so I must come off the wrong way too. Like
Yep. I
I
would
know I
just say,
do.
remember we talked about curiosity. Well, I wonder with you, what is it about homework that has you, and he might have such expectations that he's like, there's no way I can meet my own expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, don't even try.
Got it.
Versus, let's show up with curiosity. I wonder, what's your worry? What's your concern?
Okay.
And then explore solutions together. That
Okay.
remember the pause. Let's use the
I do the everyday. How is school? What did you learn? Who did you talk to? What are the fun things? He doesn't want to talk. He never does. Tell me a story. Tell me something funny. Tell me something silly. He doesn't want to speak. The 6-year-old will tell me stuff. So I'm trying to engage with him more. And I just feel like I'm that uncool mom that he just doesn't like right now. And he doesn't. So I'm going to try that one today. I'm going to say,
okay.
hi. So I know, welcome home. We have homework to do, but can you just tell me why you don't like, okay, I'm going to try.
Yeah. Tell me what's on your mind. What's happening? And maybe he just needs a decompression time
Yeah. Would
and
you
then
like
step
that?
into
Okay,
it.
then take that for a half hour.
Yep.
No problem.
Maybe you need to go run in the park and now your brain is ready.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I have to try that because I'm that person who makes them come right home and do
Yep.
work right away. So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And think they've had to sit. They've been confined. They've had to sit. And now let's move our bodies. And now let's try and
Because the
focus.
procrastination factor, if I wait to do it later after the sports, then he really doesn't want to do it. So that's happened in the past. So I have to be careful.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
Well, bless you. I wish you well
Try a
in
little break. No, thank you. Thank you for your advice, Mary.
navigating.
And how can we reach out to you?
I would love to connect with any parent, wondering grandparent, mkgparentcoach.com, and you can schedule a call right there with me.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. And also next week, we back next
Yep, we are. We'll
Tuesday.
talk about
Tuesday,
sleep.
what is it? Good sleep. And then I'll let you know how I do with this whole new homework technique. I'll try it later, okay? When I get home, I
Fabulous.
cannot wait
I
to
wish
see
you
what they
well.
do. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.